word in Korean. 인연. It means providence or fate. But it's specifically about relationships between people.
Dog lives in Manhattan, and he's tired of being alone. One day he decides to build himself a robot, a companion. Therefore blossoms their friendship until they become inseparable, to the rhythm of the 80s New York City. One summer night, Dog, with great sadness, is forced to abandon Robot at the beach, wondering will they ever meet again one day. To say I've been excited to watch Robot Dreams would be an incredible understatement. I've been waiting to watch this film since like April or May. I haven't been able to see it. It came out actually last year in 2023, but I never got a chance to see it. Never really heard anything about it at all. Didn't even know it existed until the Oscars came around. And even when the Oscars came around, I didn't even exactly care about this film. I just saw Boy in the Heron and Spider-Man and then Elemental, and then there was this one random movie called Robot Dreams, which sounds fun, it sounds cool, but I already know it's going to be either Spider-Man or The Boy in the Heron. Those are the two big animated films from last year that are both incredible in their own regard, but what Robot Dreams does is also really, really good. But really the context of what made me grow in love with this film before even watching it is I'm just sitting at work one day, I have a computer at work, and I'm able to go onto certain websites sometimes. At the time of me reading this review at work, I was able to go to the Roger Ebert website. I will be able to read like a ton of reviews every single day since I'm really, really bored at work. So on the Roger Ebert website, there was one review from, I forgot the critic's name, but in their review, they said that Robot Dreams is a mesh between Past Lives and Zootopia. So obviously, I'm immediately just infatuated with this wonderful just sense of I need to watch this film immediately. I mean, Zootopia and also Past Lives from last year, both those films very good for their respective genres, but Past Lives, if you know me, then you know that I absolutely adore that film. It's one of the best films I've seen in a really long time, and it's held up incredibly well even throughout last year to this year. So hearing a movie that's meshed with two incredible genre-defining movies meshed together into one incredible film, I have no choice but to see this film as soon as I possibly can. So I immediately went home, see if I can rent this film or even watch it in theaters. I think at the time, like April or May, this film was released in theaters, a very, very small minimal release, but obviously nowhere near me, just to my luck. So I can't go anywhere to see it locally. Also, it's not streaming anywhere at all. I can't stream it anywhere. Maybe it just might have been in the US, but I can't stream it anywhere at all. I even tried, even though I don't really do this that much, I tried to illegally stream this film, which I don't recommend doing, but in my case, I really wanted to watch this film, so I tried to go to an illegal website to stream it, but also there, no luck at all. So it wasn't until this week, on September the 10th here, that's when the film released formally in the US for me to rent and also buy on Blu-ray. So obviously, as soon as I saw that, came home from work and immediately rented it, and I loved it. I love this movie. It's really, really good. Robot Dreams, it's not as good as I thought it would be, I guess, but still, I'm pleasantly surprised. I'm very blown away by the movie. It's just so incredible. It's really just one of the most impressive and masterful films I've seen in a really long time. And this film isn't exactly reinventing the wheel, like I said before, a mesh of Zootopia and also Past Lives, and also a little bit of La La Land as well in there. So a lot of really cool movies meshed together with one, but it's not exactly reinventing the wheel in any way, just more so finding a new way to push it and a new way to present it, which is also really, really cool. But even though it's not exactly reinventing the wheel, I do still find a lot of moments that leave me very surprised because I don't really see a lot of films do it like this in this kind of way, which makes me that much more impressed. But going into the release and reception for the film, it's kind of a short list here because this movie didn't really rake in a lot of money. Even now, after it got a formal release in the US, it hasn't really gotten too much buzz. I mean, outside of its Oscar nomination earlier this year, that's the only real attention it's ever really gotten. And even then, not a whole lot of people were going out to see Robot Dreams or even sometimes even The Boy and the Heron. Yes, Studio Ghibli is a very big studio, very prestigious, yet even The Boy and the Heron, not a lot of people even went to go see. The big breadwinner for animated films last year was that of Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, which is very understandable, very beautiful and incredible film. But films like The Boy and the Heron and also Robot Dreams, no one really cared about it, which is definitely fair, but also a little bit sad. This film did rake in $6 million against a budget of $5 million. So, yes, it was a flop in a sense, but I think that, after now, we have a release here. And also, who knows, maybe it could get picked up by Netflix or Hulu. Definitely can see that happening in the near future here. This movie can definitely be potential to have a very strong word of mouth and definitely grow to new heights. And definitely upon looking at the history of movies and just the more cult classic films like, Jennifer's Body, also Donnie Darko, American Psycho as well, films that, my generation maybe have never even seen or heard of before, yet somehow in the year 2024, they're more popular than ever. That's the, kind of power that word of mouth can have in the world of film, which is very, very cool. And I'm hoping, definitely praying that that can happen with Robot Dreams as well. But enough about all of that financial talk here. We already know how this film was received financially, gaining $6 million, but critically, how is it perceived by overall audiences and critics? Over on Rotten Tomatoes, this film has a 98% critic score and a 90% audience score, which is very, very high. I'm not sure what the review count is on those scores there, but still, it's still very high for a movie like this that didn't really get a lot of attention. I'm very impressed by it. Over on the Roger Ebert website, this film has a 3 out of 4 stars on there. And we have a review here from Brian Tallarico, which had a pretty good review here. I'll leave the full review down below in the show notes, but a little bit of a blurb from that is really cool. In his review, he wrote that Robot Dreams asks us if we remember the relationships that we had in the past that formed us, the ones that may not have even lasted our entire lives, but still nonetheless shape us and form us into who we are today, the ones that we think about every now and then, and the ones that come back in our dreams to haunt us, the ones that don't even need words. I'll talk about it in a second, but that review right there really sums up the entire film. The film is really good, goes into that past lives about, the right person at the wrong time, which is a very, cursed genre of film. Definitely a horror genre more than anything, but still, nonetheless, if that's explored in a romance film, it's most likely very, very good. Speaking from experience, I've seen like a lot of romance movies, and they're all in one shape or another goes into that kind of theme, which is very good. Over on Letterboxd, this film has a 4.1 average. I have a review here from Elena Piskovic. I hope I didn't say that wrong. And in her review here, she said that this is literally an animated version of La La Land. Didn't think that a dialogue-free film would bring so much pain. And yes, that is true. It's dialogue-free, but it still has an ability to bring a very just massive and sharp, haunting gut punch every time you watch it. And I'm saying that out of experience. I've watched it 2 times since I first saw it. And yeah, it's very good. It's very just painful to watch. I mean, I get the same feeling that I got after watching La La Land and also Past Lives. That just, very painful wound that you have in your soul after watching it will linger for a pretty long time. But still, nonetheless, the film's incredible. So yeah, that's just spoiler-free stuff. The film's really good. I give it an 8 out of 10, a B plus for now, so you can leave if you want, but I'm going to spoilers, so you don't really want to hear it. If you want to not be spoiled for the film, you can leave and come back later, but really, until then, this film's incredible. It flew under my radar. It's really one of the best of the decade, not really just because of its score. It's an 8 out of 10, but still, I think for what it does and just how different it is from other movies in its genre, I have to give it some love at being one of the best of the decade so far. We're not done with the decade, but as of right now, as of 2024, it's one of the best. All right, so opening into the movie here, I start to just realize how outlandish and how stupid this movie really is about a dog and a robot essentially falling in love. I mean, the movie isn't classified as a romance film, but, really all signs point to this being a romance movie. But the movie opens up with our main character, one of the main ones being the dog, who's alone and is seeking for a relationship or companionship, being love in this movie, or a relationship with someone, or as we see, something. And the movie is not a silent film. I watched a silent film last month, and this movie is by no means a silent movie. I know what that is. Seen before. This isn't it. This movie's still filled with some sound effects, some screams and stuff in there, but the movie does have no lines of dialogue. So it is relatively silent the entire movie, which is, silent in the ways that matter, to where there's no lines of dialogue, nothing, not even once by anyone or anything. So yeah, right there, again, this movie shouldn't work for the fact that most movies that release today aren't really even silent for more than 30-40 minutes, and this movie doing it for an entire almost 2 hours is nothing short of impressive, and also at the same time never feeling boring, never feeling lame, never feeling like the movie's missing a line of dialogue that can really sell a sequence. Every single scene works because it has incredible visual storytelling, and it works so well because I never feel like I'm missing something by not having anyone not talking. But within the first, say, 5-6 minutes, the intentions for the movie and for our main character is immensely clear on the fact that he's alone and he seeks love and seeks a relationship with someone, which is sad. It's kind of like our lifelong journey to find someone, to find a companion, whether you're a man or a woman. I can't speak for women, but at least if you're a man, you do seek to find someone to extend your life with, to really walk alongside with your entire life. And not having someone with you can be a little bit depressing. It's not impossible, but for most people out there, it is a sad journey to walk on. And then with the introduction of the robot in this movie, it's also pretty fun, a pretty fun little montage there that's like about, 3 minutes? And then pretty quickly into the movie here, we're only at 20 minutes now, we get to Robot being abandoned on the beach, which is really most of the film is him being abandoned on the beach. Yet, I think it is very impressive that throughout the entire runtime, we barely even see the robot and the dog actually together, living life together, yet I still feel the weight and the emotion and the impact that is their relationship ending. Really, merely like 20 minutes into the film is when the relationship ends. What is kind of weird is because it feels like I've been watching them together for like 4 or 5 hours, yet it's barely even been half an hour. But the beach sequence of him being stuck there is just incredibly tragic. Once again, with no lines of dialogue, just incredible visual expression and also incredible visual storytelling, really sells every single moment in its entire film. But seeing the dog struggle to carry him off the beach and Robot really coming to contempt of having the dog leave without him to find help is very sad and also yet very beautiful, and also done, like I said before, with no lines of dialogue and also two characters that aren't even exactly even human. But I love the most about with the abandonment of dog leaving the robot is that it, in some movies you can say that, there's some plot holes here. Why didn't he just do this? Why didn't he just do that? Well, dog only abandons the robot when it's literally his last option. His only option is to say goodbye to him. Well, why didn't he just break back into it? Well, he tried that, he got arrested. Why didn't he just go to the city to try to get them to approve him to go back into the beach to save his robot? Well, he tried that too, and they denied it. So, therefore, he only says goodbye when it's his only option, the last thing he can really do. Which may be the most painful part, is having to say goodbye to someone for really what's only a year, but having to say goodbye to someone you really care about and really love, but only because it's really your last and only option to do so. And then, of course, after the abandonment of the dog leaving the robot, what makes the movie really good here is, well, in the title itself, Robot Dreams. When the robot starts to have his dreams in the film, is really the most masterful amount of filmmaking in the entire film. It sells the dreams in movies so very, very well. It's something that I really need to see more in film, because dreams in Robot Dreams are really like a lot like in real life, to where in a dream everything feels normal until you realize it's a dream when you wake up. And also, I heard this from my youth pastor a very long time ago. He said that when you dream about your problems and what you're going through in real life, whether it's good or bad. I mean, whether you break up with your girlfriend or whether you have a big interview, a big job coming up, you're going to dream about your big job. And it's really exciting and really fun. Or it can be how Robot in the film dreams about going back to the dog, yet he wakes up still in the sand and getting his leg cut off extremely casually. But that is the beauty of the dreams in the movie, and also, I guess, dreams in real life. How dreams can sometimes feel like an escape, to where you're escaping into this world. If you're a very lucky person who lucid dreams, then yeah, sure. You can dream up like Neverland in your dreams in the middle of work, which I'm very jealous about. But, still, I think that dreams sometimes can be very fun. Yet also in the movie, it shows that dreams can be almost like torture. Him being so close to being reunited with dog, and yet waking up still in the same place without him, and knowing that the dog would never be there for him really ever again, is sad. It's very tragic, yet it's done so well to be so emotionally impactful. Even though, like I said again, this film sounds very dumb. Me talking about a robot and a dog falling in love with each other sounds stupid and outlandish, but yet it works and it feels so natural to me. And as the film goes along with this very dumb plot about a robot and a dog falling in love, we intercut between the robot having dreams, and also we intercut between the dog who's living out life and trying to live out life and move along without the robot in it. And this part of the movie, I think, is, the weaker part of the film. I think that this is where the movie kind of loses its Oscar. It would have been good if this part of the film with the dog and also, intercutting between the entire movie was, a little bit better. I think that throughout this part of the movie with the dog and also going to the middle of the runtime, it feels like it's dragging along a little bit. I mean, this movie is like an hour and 40, but at times it does feel like, hey, this could be like 40 minutes long instead of that big hour and a half runtime. It feels like they're kind of just stretching things along just for the sake of having it being stretched. But still, nonetheless, I think the Halloween sequence here is very fun. We're also very close to Halloween, like a month here. That's very fun. But still, the dog thinks of Robot with the Halloween sequence, and also he sees a kid inside of a robot costume and has a flicker of hope in his eyes and wonder, and just hope that maybe this can be it. Maybe the robot found a way out of the sand and he's back on his front doorstep, but yet it's not. And I love seeing the hope in the dog's eyes and that just fade away into sadness and anger as he yells at the kids to get out of his house, which is, once again, corny and stupid, but still, I think that seeing the dog really being fixated and obsessed with having this relationship come back to life, that it does affect the others in his life very negatively. The way others see him as being a very grumpy old guy who's just angry for no reason, but deep down in everyone's life, I see that, everyone's kind of dealing with their own pain and suffering, which is sad. You're also a very kind of beautiful reality that everyone's going through something very painful, yet we don't really ever really know it. And with the second dream for this movie with the robot, I think that this one is kind of also relatable in real life. So when I was watching it for the second time, I kind of had the realization that in, real life, when you dream a dream, you forget it immediately, no matter how impactful it was. If you don't have a dream journal, you're kind of cooked forever. But yeah, I did forget one of the dreams in this film, which may sound really bad. But yeah, on second watch, I realized just how impactful it was, which is a very simple and short dream here. We have the robot goes to see dog at his apartment, but he sees that the dog replaced him. And that scene is just very sad, really maybe almost made me cry, because I think that just the pain of seeing that someone's moved on from you can really just devalue you into feeling like that you're not good enough, even though that may not be the case. Maybe just the relationship ended for different reasons, but maybe just, you're not good enough for them and what they're doing in life. But, Robot sees him with someone else and immediately goes back into the grave, really gets off to his eternal pain and suffering of being in the sand, is sad. It's a lot of just very sad subjects throughout the entire film. And a scene that I didn't think that I really needed in a romance film. And, I see it in The Notebook. That was in there too, with Ryan Gosling going to see that the girl he liked replaced him with Cyclops, which, yeah, sad, and it's painful to see that, but maybe it wasn't always your fault. Maybe it's not always your fault, but yet in this movie and in other movies and also in real life, Robot feels like it is his fault that maybe if he was good enough, if he was better, if he didn't get stuck in the sand, that maybe things would have ended the way they did. And the movie just continues on with this pivoting of back and forth between robot and dog, which is, I guess, great to see that I am watching the film and I'm watching them be apart more than I'm seeing them be together. But that may just be the more defining piece of the film, is that you grow maybe sometimes more when you're farther apart from someone than when you're closer together with them. Yes, obviously, two people together can be incredible, powerful force. Yet also the things that you do alone and the things that you do alone to recover from the relationship really does just really define you as who you are. Really, your make or break moment is how you bounce back from the past relationship into something new. And, throughout the entire film, whether it's a dog going on a snow trip to make new friends, or maybe Robot dreaming of Wizard of Oz, which is very fun, or even the dog having a dream as well, dreaming of the robot and him getting back together and reuniting again, is scary. It's also very sad. And even the movie does kind of pivot off to its own thing sometimes outside of dreams, like Robot and some birds, or also the dog meeting someone new in some very weird random side quest, I guess, for some reason. That's all beautiful. I think it's all beautiful to see the life after a relationship, seeing how they pivot away from the relationship into something of themselves, which is what makes them defined more to me. I see a lot more in them apart from each other than them being together with each other, which is very defining for the whole film and really the characters as a whole entirely. But just pivoting into the home stretch for the movie, as we get to the final 1 year mark here. It's been 1 year, it's June of the next year, so now Dog can finally go back to the beach and save Robot. Obviously, things just don't work out the way you think they will, and it always ends with pain and suffering. We see the robot on the beach, ready to go home, and yet there's a weird junkyard guy comes to scrap him, takes him off the beach, and it's also very in this moment horrifying and also painful to see Robot 1 be stripped off the beach, which isn't exactly even stealing. I mean, yeah, it is stealing to a degree, but it is the dog's fault that he did leave him there for a year. And it's also New York and also on the beach, which is a public place. So yeah, he did break into the beach also during this time, but it is free game for whoever comes to find the robot first. But in this moment, it's not only horrifying to see Robot be taken away, but to see Robot be smashed into a million pieces and really essentially die in this moment. That also is just painful to watch. And then also painful to see Dog going back to save Robot and seeing him not be there. Having their happiness and their future being stolen from them is tragic. I mean, yes, I understand the whole right person at the wrong time, but it's sad seeing them have plans to be with each other, yet it doesn't exactly work out. But maybe that's just the point of the entire film, that yes, sometimes we do have an opportunity to be with someone and we get lucky and that's our first childhood sweetheart and we grow to we're 90 and we die with each other. Yet other times that's not really essentially the case. Yes, it's painful. Yes, it's sad, but maybe sometimes that random 2 month relationship that you had with some random girl or guy, for that matter, if your girl listens to this, maybe that was just, I guess, what do they say in video games? The character development, which is also painful and just really sad. But yeah, maybe some random 2 month relationship that you had with some random girl at your job didn't work out because it wasn't supposed to. Yes, it's sad, but you make plans and God laughs at you because he knows that's not how things are going to work out for you. Oh, you're happy? No. Character development. That's a little lesson for you by having that relationship pass. But yeah, the entire movie, I guess, essentially, quote unquote, ends here with the relationship, but it only proves to be a beginning for a new life and a new branch of adventures with someone else and someone new, which is, again, hard to hear and hard to say, but that's just life sometimes, whether you want it to or not. And really, the most beautiful and also sad moment with this entire film is its ending. And I'll just say here, I'm going to kind of go through and analyze it. But the movie speaks for itself. Go see the film for yourself. Go see the ending if you haven't already. But if you have, then I'll just say that the ending for this movie is definitely one of the best endings of last year. And that's saying something with films like Oppenheimer and also Past Lives. A film like Robot Dreams about a dog and a robot falling in love has very casually one of the best endings of the entire year. But everything really starts with the robot being in the junkyard, broken, essentially dead and a corpse, and yet seeing someone come to the junkyard and seeing that robot is in a very scarred and broken state, but still committing to come to his rescue and save him and love him again like other people tried to, but just failed for some random reasons, is sad. And it's also very beautiful to see that this isn't essentially the dog, but it's someone who's still willing to care and love for him as much or even not more than the dog. And also seeing that the robot being picked up by someone is very beautiful, but also what's also beautiful and sad is seeing the dog having to move on and learn from his old relationship, seeing him go to the beach with a new robot and also not letting the robot go into that water is, very little subtle thing to see, that the robot is learning from his past mistakes, his past relationships, and seeing that the past relationship that we see the dog go through does make him elevate and learn more things about how to treat someone, how to treat a robot better, and how he can be a better partner in the long run. Yes, it is sad to see a very short relationship that had a beautiful love end, but seeing the long-lasting life lessons that made him shape into someone new is maybe just as beautiful and also a little bit sad, but still, it is just the growth and character development that this character needed. But in the last seconds of this entire movie, what really does sell the film to make it that much better is seeing that robot sees the dog again. And also in this moment, the robot sees the dog and he has this just incredible remembering of everything that they ever went through. And that's very beautiful, seeing him remember the dog and remember all their past life that they had together. And then the robot chasing him down the street and also embracing him in that moment is beautiful. And it's very sad. And it's also the very much so storybook ending to the entire film that we want to see. I want to see the robot and the dog come back together with each other, yet I know that's not real life. It turns up it's a dream. Robot's dreaming of embracing the dog in that moment, and that's just something that really did shake me to my core and like made me gasp in real life, because that was just a dream that I didn't expect was even happening. and didn't exactly feel like a dream until I realized that this just wouldn't happen. It's not even real. Why would I ever even think that? It's perfect. It's a perfect use of a dream. But then what happens after this is just even more beautiful. As he's looking down on the dog from the top window with a new robot, he plays their song from Earth, Wind, and Fire September. And that does make them both dance like they did before in the past. But then I love that he sees that he has a moment again in real life, not in a dream, to be back with the dog, yet he chooses not to, which is weird. Not the happy ending storybook route, but it's still just the most brilliant character development for the entire film. He sees what he has now. He has a new dog, or I think that's a dog or a ferret or something. I don't even know what that animal is that the new robot's with, but he sees that the new person he's with right now cared about him enough to take him when he was literally nothing, rebuild him back up to its current state, and then take him in to feed him and make his life just ultimately better, which does make that one thing, seeing that someone can love him when he's broken, the one thing that makes it just not fair to go back to the dog when the new owner has done everything for him. And in mere seconds where he has a moment to go back to the dog and embrace him and be with him again, he chooses to not be with the dog out of really love and respect for the dog and also for himself and what he became, but still appreciating that past life of being with the dog because it really was that defining moment for his life to shape him to be who he is today. And just like past lives, I say in that movie and I say it here, having a past life with someone and having that person shape you and love you will always be with you forever. It's a very haunting and cursed pain that you'll have for the rest of your life. And something that a lot of people really do go through, whether you're married with a kid right now, or if you're 20 and you have a girlfriend for 4 years. Maybe before that 4 years with your girlfriend, you had one random girl that you had in the past that maybe you hate, maybe she cheated on you, but still that relationship in your past life was definitely something that you'll never forget about. There's the quote of the Inyan in Past Lives about the layers of life they would have with every single person you walk on the street with, the infinite possibilities that you've been with someone before, but you maybe just didn't know. And that entire quote in that entire movie just shapes that film perfectly and also can be applied beautifully to this film as well. That yes, the past life happened, it is in the past for a reason, but it's something that you should never really forget about because it's something that really stays with you forever.
It's an inyan. If two strangers even walk by each other in the street and their clothes accidentally brush, because it means there must have been something between them in their past lives. If two people get married, they say it's because there have been 8,000 layers of inyan over 8,000 lifetimes.
Well, that's Robot Dreams. My final score for the film is a B+. It's a solid score. The film isn't perfect. Like I said before, the movie does kind of slow down in the middle. I think that it just could have been like a 40-minute film. 40-minute short film would have been a better, I think, approach to the movie and to the concept. But still, the film's incredible. Also, the animation, isn't exactly bad, but it's like something from PBS Kids. Once again, I love PBS Kids. I love them my whole life. But, the movie, the animation, I think looking back at movies like, hey, The Boy and the Heron, Spider-Man, Puss in Boots, the list goes on, Arcane, shows and movies like that just really makes any normal vanilla animated movie does seem like kind of boring, kind of basic, not really inspiring. Just like Robot Dreams, once again, animation isn't bad. It's a very clean, hand-drawn look to it, but still, it could have been just a little bit better. I would have just been more, seeking for more from the animation, not so much, vanilla kind of animation style. Nonetheless, the film is great. Besides those two little critiques, it could have just, I think aspired for more greatness, but still, regardless, it's one of the most impressive pieces of filmmaking from the last few years and one of the best of the decade so far. If you haven't seen it and you for some reason heard me spoil the entire film, I would still recommend you just watch the movie, rent it. I don't usually rent movies, but I did rent this one and I watched it twice. So yeah, go see it, go watch it for yourself, form your own opinion. I want to hear what you have to say. Usually I do some big, butts in the backlot thing, some awards and stuff, but it doesn't feel right for this movie. There's not really anything I can say for awards or anything. Like an MVP, no one talks. So, it'd be a kind of weird thing to, go about doing. But, still love it, love the film. I do have a big question for you. My big question for you is is this film a romance movie? Which is a little bit of a controversial topic because, yeah, the film is definitely taking inspiration from, La La Land, some other romance movies as well, like Umbrellas of Cherbourg, that definitely is thrown in there too. But, the movie isn't a romance film. It's not classified as that on Letterboxd and maybe on IMDb and stuff too. Also, the movie stars a robot and a dog, so how would that exactly even be a romance movie? It, kind of makes sense. It's there, but should it be interpreted as a romance film? I mean, yes, there's plenty of, romance movies that aren't even classified as that, like WALL-E. WALL-E isn't even exactly a romance film, but still, written over that entire movie is, yeah, this is a romance movie for sure, which no one really argues with. But I have to ask you, for this movie, is it a romance film? Is it an LGBTQ film? Because, both the characters, the robot and the dog, are definitely, they're not guys because they're a robot and a dog, but yeah, sure, they could be guys if they wanted to. But, it's kind of stretching. Is it a stretch or is it kind of accurate? Let me know. I want to hear what to say. I get it. Films can be interpreted in any way, shape, or form. It all depends on you and your own personal life and the background of what happened prior to the movie. But, I want to hear what to say. Is it a stretch to say this is romance? Is it a stretch to say this is an LGBTQ movie? Does it make it bad or does it make it good? I want to know. Sound off down there. If you're on Spotify, we have a little comment thing down there. Also, if you're, listening to this anywhere else, we have a little fan mail thing too, which is pretty fun. But besides that, stay tuned for a lot of fun stuff, actually. We're going into The Joker 2, which I didn't even realize was so close, but it really is. We have The Joker. We have the new Transformers film, which I'm incredibly hyped for. I'm a big Transformers guy. Then going into Megalopolis from Francis Ford Coppola. Might be the biggest flop of the year, but we'll see. And some other fun stuff as well. Gladiator, Nosferatu, Arcane Season 2. It's still pretty sad. We're like 4 months out from New Year, but we have time to lock in, which I'll be doing pretty soon. But until then, stay swagged out, stay cool, watch more films every single day. And as always, I'm your host Logan, and I'll see you boys in the movies.